have these on the third Friday of every month. So please put that in your calendars and look on Eventbrite for your, for the next one. We're going to try different things. We're going to try panels where, we have established authors and the audience can ask them questions. We're going to have readings. It's just going to be all about literature. My name is Selah Carriot. I probably should have said that first. I'm primarily a screenwriter, but thanks to the Grotto, I'm starting to dabble in other things, and inspired by all of the great writing I see here. Today we are very, very fortunate to be concurrently running with Rooted and Written. And thank you so much to Susan Ito and J.D. Beltran for this incredible week-long workshop. J.D.'s back there, Susan is here. Everyone is so enamored and impressed with this workshop, with the workshops, the quality and the teaching, and the quality of the fellows. Also, if you look around, you will see artwork by Simone Neri, she's from Rome, and she's been working in this medium, mixed medium art since 1978. She's lived in New York, Paris, San Francisco. We have the installation till the end of the year. We're very blessed to be, she's done like major installations in all over the world, so we're very blessed to have this in our space. There's a price list back there. If you really fall in love with any of these pieces and you want to take them home. And she's right here in the back. Also, as part of Rooted and Written, there are going to be 48 fellows who are presenting their work tomorrow, and it'll be in the mezzanine at 3:30 p.m. And if you go to rooted-written.org, there's also a virtual online Zoom event, so you can either watch it on Zoom or come in person. If you want to come in person, please register. And there may be about 100 people there, so it's going to be an incredible, incredible event. And that will be the final culmination of Rooted and Written. So we have 5 readers today, really talented readers. The first reader is Susan Ito. Probably one of the hearts of the Grotto, I would say. And Susan Ito is the author of The Mouse Room. She co-edited the literary anthology A Ghost at Heart's Edge, Stories and Poems of Adoption. Her work has appeared in The Writer, Growing Up Asian American, Choice, Hip Mama, Literary Mama, Catapult, Hyphen, The Bellevue Literary Review, and elsewhere. She is a MacDowell Colony Fellow and also has been awarded residences at the Mesa Refuge, Hedgebrook, and the Blue Mountain Center. She has performed her solo show, The Ice Cream Gene, around the U.S. Talk about versatile. Her theatrical adaptation of Untold Stories of Reproductive Stigma was produced at Brava Theater. She teaches at the Writers Grotto, Mills College, and Bay Path University. Welcome, Susan.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here in front of all of you. I'm so thrilled to have Rooted and Written Fellows here, to have my Grotto colleagues and other friends and family. It's really wonderful to have you here. Today, I'm going to be reading a very short excerpt from my memoir, which, forthcoming memoir, I get to say, will be coming out in 2023. And also a new poem. And I'm looking at this, I want you to all, when you get to mill around a little bit later, look at this incredible photograph. It's called The Supremes. The New Supremes? The Supremes?
The New Supremes.
The New Supremes.
On their pink carpet.
On their pink carpet by Simo. And I was really honored to do a reading at an event earlier this week with Simo. It was Artists and Writers for Reproductive Justice, Reproductive Rights. And this is her vision of the ideal, most wonderful, humane, beautiful Supreme Court. So take a look at that. My memoir has a lot to do with reproductive issues, choices, and many things. And given the times that we are in now, it felt important for me to share about an abortion that I had. And It was what is called a late-term abortion, which is the first on the chopping block to be outlawed. And it's just important to know about the real lived experience of what that's like and why somebody would have something like that. So this is a brief excerpt. There was a name for what I had, preeclampsia. Well, preeclampsia was better than eclampsia, and as long as it was pre, then they could stop it, couldn't they? And what was eclampsia anyway? An explosion of blood pressure, a flood of protein poisoning the blood, kidney failure, vessels in spasm, stroke, seizure, blindness, death. But I didn't have any of those things, not yet. I had pre-eclampsia. It felt safe, and I was calm. They slipped a needle into my wrist and hung a bag of magnesium sulfate. To prevent seizures, they say. You may feel a little hot. As the drug slipped into my bloodstream, I felt a flash of electricity in my mouth. My tongue was baking. My scalp prickled, burning, and I threw up on the sheets. I felt like I was being microwaved. I was wheeled down to radiology. We saw pictures of the baby on screen, waving, treading water. A real child, not a pony or a fish. The x-ray tech, a woman with curly brown hair and a red Coca-Cola t-shirt, pressed the wand deep into my belly. She asked, "Do you want to know the sex?" "Yes." "There you go." She pressed harder and then pointed. A flash between the legs, like a finger. "A boy." I nearly left off the gurney. "John, did you see? It's a boy. It's going to be Samuel." Samuel, the Spanish pronunciation, named after our beloved host father in Nicaragua, where we lived during our honeymoon. He looked away. The neonatologist stood next to my bed. He recited numbers slowly. "This baby needs at least 2 more weeks for viability. He's already too small, way too small. But you," he looked at me sadly, "you can't survive 2 weeks without having a stroke, seizures, or worse. What are the chances we could both make it, me and the baby?" Less than 10%. Maybe less than 5%. The space between his fingers shrunk into nothing. I was toxemic, poisoned by my own pregnancy. The only cure was not to be pregnant anymore. The baby needed more weeks, just 14 days. I looked at John hopefully. "It's not that long. I can wait. It'll be all right." "Honey, your blood pressure is through the roof. Your kidneys are shutting down. You're on the verge of having a stroke." I smiled at him. I said that having a stroke at 29 would not be such a big deal. I was young. I was a physical therapist. I knew about rehab. I could rehabilitate myself. I could walk with a cane. Lots of people did. I had a bizarre image of leaning on the baby's carriage, supporting myself the way some people use a walker. They took a sample of my amniotic fluid. Later, they said that his lungs weren't developed enough, that he was non-viable, that even though he was 22 weeks by the calendar, he was only 18 by size, non-viable. I lay with my hands on my belly, feeling Samuelito's limbs turning this way and that. There was nothing inside me that could think of saying goodbye. The next day brought more magnesium sulfate, a cuff that inflated every 5 minutes, the fetal monitor booming through the room. There was no change in status for either of us. I signed papers of consent, my hand moving numbly across the paper. My mind was screaming, "I do not consent. I do not. I do not." In the evening, the special doctor entered with a tray and a syringe. He was followed by a nurse with mournful eyes. "It's just going to be a bee sting," he said. And it was, a small tingle with quick pricking bubbles under my navel. A glass tube like a thin straw went in and out with a barely audible pop. It was so fast. I said silently, "I love you. I love you. You must be hearing this. Please hear me." And then a Band-Aid was unwrapped with its plastic smell of childhood and spread onto my belly. "All done," he said. "All done." My child was inside, swallowing the fizzy drink. It bubbled against his tiny tongue like deadly soda pop. It was a drug to stop his heart, to lay him down to sleep so he wouldn't feel what would happen the next day. The terrible thing, the D&E. Dilation and evacuation was its official name. They told me I would sleep through it. Evacuees were what Japanese Americans like my birth mother were called when they were ripped from their homes, tagged like animals and flung into the desert, evacuated, exiled, thrown away, incarcerated. I lay on my side, pinching the pillowcase. I wondered if he was startled by the drug's taste, if it was bitter or strange, or just different from the salt water he was used to. I prayed that it wouldn't be noxious, not like the magnesium sulfate, that it wouldn't hurt, that it would be fast. John sat next to the bed and held one hand, and I pressed the other against my belly. I looked over his shoulder into the dark slice of night between the heavy curtains. Samuel, my Samuelito, jumped against my hand once. He leaped through the space into the darkness, and then was gone. Yeah, I guess it gets to me even after 30 years, huh? This is a short poem that I wrote very recently, and I want to thank Ma. I don't usually consider myself a poet, but I felt really compelled to write this poem, and Ma helped me. Ma was such a great support and helper for this poem. And in this time of Roe v. Wade being overturned, there's a lot of talk about adoption, not abortion, and a lot of talk if an adopted person, an adoptee, identifies themselves as pro-choice, they often get this question, well, would you rather have been aborted? As if it's an equivalent. And I'm on adoptee Twitter, and this comes up constantly, that we're constantly being challenged with this, like, would you rather have been aborted? And they're not equivalent conditions. So it's called Would You Rather. We start asking this question early. Toddlers, blue cup or yellow cup? Children ask each other, would you rather be sucked into quicksand or eaten by a crocodile? Would you rather die by fire or water? Do you want your sandwich with mayo or mustard? Paper or plastic? Every day brings a storm of choices. And now, adopted person, would you rather have been aborted? If this is what my mother had wanted, and yes, it is what she wanted, then yes. Yes, I would have rather that she had had the choice. She tried in her own ways. She tried by not eating. She gained not a pound during her pregnancy. She did not resort to sharp objects or poison, but she tried to wish me away. She told no one. It was years before Roe. I burst from her months early, and then she vanished. A kindly couple raised me, but the question of her filled me forever. If she had aborted me, her life would have been free of the hard pit inside her, of the secret of me, and I would have been free to become a flower, a lizard, a redwood tree. But what about your children? If you hadn't existed, then neither would they, and neither would they, and you love them so much, don't you? If I hadn't existed, and neither had they, we would have been a yard full of flowers, nodding at each other in the wind.